a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad. You'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Today's episode is very special. It's precious, and they might steals it from us. There is a spite steals it, so listen quickly.
Roll that intro. Hey, all you beautiful movie-loving people out there, live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert. Hey everybody, welcome back to Movies Merica podcast. Yes, so this week we continue our One Trilogy to Rule Them All series. Yes, if you couldn't tell from Gollum visiting us a little earlier here in the episode. And so since last week we did the Fellowship of the Ring revisiting, of course, that brings us to, personally, this is my favorite installment in the Lord of the Rings trilogy from Peter Jackson. And that favorite of mine would be titled The Two Towers.
The fate of the world will soon be decided. The dominion of evil grows even stronger. There is a union now between the two towers, Barad-dûr, fortress of the Dark Lord Sauron, and Orthanc, stronghold of the wizard Saruman. The peril of the Ringbearer deepens. An unseen danger draws closer, for there is another who hunts the ring.
The thieves! They stole my precious, and we want it.
Come back to you now, at the turn of the tide.
I can't believe it's going to be 20 years since this movie came out this December. This being September 2022 when I'm recording this. Yes, this December, that will be 20 years since Peter Jackson's The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers was released to the world. But we'll get further and further into that here after I let you know that, of course, these Movies Merica podcast episodes are available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many other platforms. And if you're on Apple Podcast, feel free to give it a 5-star rating. You're just going to have to zip all the way down to the bottom below all the episodes and you're going to see those fabulous 5 stars down there. So, yeah, feel free to give it a 5-star rating if you honestly think I deserve that. I wouldn't mind. And then also down there's a write a review button. You can just click on that and do exactly what that button says. Write a review if you want. It could be short. It could be long. It could be pithy. It could be, War and Peace. Be as long as you want it. So, and then also just to let you know, I'm on the social media here as well, on Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica. Also have a Facebook page called Movies Merica as well, if you want to check me out on there or message me there as well. And then also all the episodes are on moviesmerica.com. Oh, yeah. And so let's head to the liquefied part of each episode here, and that is where I do just a brief beer review because, as you know, Movies Merica is the home of where movie reviews meets ice cold brews. And so for this episode, the ice cold brew is named Crispy Business. That's right, Crispy Business, not Risky Business. We're not rolling with Tom Cruise and Rebecca De Mornay here, so unfortunately, as fun as that sounds, great movie, by the way. Now, this is Crispy Business, and it's a Helles lager, and it's brewed by Real Ale Brewing Company, and that's actually right out of Texas Hill Country, so that's like a little bit northwest of San Antonio, so what's known as the Texas Hill Country, and there's like a big German community in the Texas Hill Country, and so that's what this Helles lager is a German brew. So that's our ice cold brew for this week. And I would recommend it. And again, just to let you guys know, as always, I'm not getting any kind of endorsement money from any of these breweries at all. So I love myself a good ice cold brew while I'm doing a movie review. And you know what? It hits the spot. So you know what? To that, I'm going to take a tug off this bad boy. Oh, yeah. I've always had a weak spot for Helles lagers. So, absolutely so. And this one is pretty good. So, all right. So, now that we've covered the brews, let's get into the reviews. Oh, yes. And actually, you know what? I shouldn't use the word review. This is more of a revisiting. Obviously, the time to review The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers is past. Okay. This movie came out almost 20 years ago. So, yeah, these episodes are just a revisiting of my favorite trilogy of all time. I mean, to me, it's flawless. It's flawless. I just, it invokes so many emotions. It's, excitement, sadness, awe, pity, elation, just name it. Sadness. It's like there's some parts of this movie where it's a gut punch, and there's other parts of this movie where you just get this feeling of eruption of emotion. Like it's excitement and euphoria. It's just incredible, and it still does that to me. Like 20 years later. Now, as I mentioned in the last episode, I think what prefaced this or what got me motivated to do this right now is I just got the 4K version of all the extended versions of these movies here. And so, it took me about 5 seconds after I got that box set to throw them in there and check them out. And I've seen the extended versions before, but I've never seen them in 4K. And yeah, they definitely lived up to the hype. So, all right. So, and just to let you know, the extended versions, there is no comparison. Don't bother with just watching the theatrical version unless you're pressed for time. And you're really not going to save that much time, okay? You might as well watch the extended versions, watch the creme de la creme of how these movies should be watched. So, anyway, all right. So, I have officially covered that. Okay. And speaking of the extended versions, the reason that I recommend that is because these are extended scenes that are actually valuable. They actually add. They actually contribute. They actually enhance the movie. And, just a few examples. You've got the parts, you've got the extended scenes where it just deepens the establishment of the relationship between Aragorn and Éowyn. Okay, it's you have more conversation with them while they get to know each other, a little bit better. They're just talking and learning more and more about each other, and it makes the arc of their relationship that much more profound. You get more footage of the writers of the Rohirrim, led by Eomer, played by Carl Urban, who is mostly known nowadays as Butcher on The Boys on Prime Video there. So, but way back in 2002, yeah, Carl Urban, way before he played Butcher on The Boys, he was playing Eomer, the leader of the Rohirrim. So you get more footage of that. That's just another one of the enhanced scenes there. Reveals more about Treebeard, one of the new characters in this movie. Treebeard, the Ents. Reveals more about the trees of Fangorn Forest. You see more of Sean Bean's character, Boromir. Sean Bean's character of Boromir was in the Fellowship of the Ring. And now if you watch the theatrical versions, well, you just see Boromir in the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, and you don't ever see him again after that first movie. But with the extended version of The Two Towers, yeah, you get to see more of Boromir shortly before he travels to Rivendell to eventually become part of the Fellowship, or where he's at the Council of Elrond and at Rivendell. So you see him shortly before he arrives there to join the Fellowship, and he's and that's when he is in Osgiliath, and they've just overthrown the orcs and the Uruk-hai, and he's celebrating with Faramir, who we meet in The Two Towers. And yeah, you get to see all of that in the extended versions. Again, not in the theatrical version, and it just adds so much to the movie there. I mean, it doesn't take away from it. I think it's the theatrical versions. I mean, I get why they cut the scenes, because obviously I'm sure the studio wanted them to cut the movie down so they could actually get more showings. But I think that the extended scenes just make the movies better. And it's kind of a special treat, you didn't get to see it in the theaters, but when you watch it at home, you can watch the extended versions, and you can pause it and whatnot, and take your potty breaks, and because I mean, it's like almost 4 hours, I think, like that, or maybe a little over 4 hours with the extended versions of these movies. So yeah, it's the extended versions are perfect for at home. So yeah. And also, you learn Aragorn's true age. You didn't get that in the theatrical version as well. So yeah, it's the extended versions. It provides a richness to the movie that, or increases the richness of the movie, I should say. And I just totally prefer the extended versions. If you haven't got that impression so far from me, absolutely. So, and then also a part that was in the theatrical versions, one of the most epic beginnings of a movie is, they've got a series of helicopter shots just panning over the beautiful mountains of New Zealand, which is supposed to be Middle Earth in the Lord of the Rings movies. And yeah, it's just this just beautiful scenery of the mountainscapes. And then you see the camera and it zooms inside of a mountain, and then you see the fight between Gandalf and the Balrog, and the whole "you shall not pass," just replaying that from the first movie. And then the sequence where, obviously the Balrog collapses into the chasm, into the abyss, and then his whip, grabs Gandalf, or sends Gandalf up, off the bridge, and then Gandalf falls down, falls into the chasm after it. And that provides one of the just most metal, one of the most incredible, most cool sequences, which still holds up today, where the Balrog is falling to certain death, and so is Gandalf, and he's falling after the Balrog, and there's this epic fiery battle between Gandalf and the Balrog, and Gandalf has just got his sword, and he's just taking it to the Balrog as they're falling to certain death. And then one of one of the shots I love the most in all of the trilogies, or in the whole trilogy, is when they have the wide shot of the underground lake, I guess is what you'd call it, and you just see like the light from the fires of the Balrog just kind of slowly illuminates from inside, like, I guess, the chasm down to the lake, and just that imagery and the music, the Howard Shore music that accompanies it, it's just so medieval, and God, it's like so epic, and it's hard to put into words, I mean, it's just so timeless, it seems, and it's like right, not even 2 minutes into the movie, and it just gets you that emotional gut punch. It really just sucks you in to the movie, and I think that's when I realized, like, okay, the stakes have been raised from the Fellowship of the Ring. I mean, this is going to be a movie where it's next level compared to the Fellowship of the Rings, okay? And yeah, I just think that's like one of the coolest opening scenes in there. So I mean, I'll rant and rave about that scene right there. Another cool thing that you get to see in the Two Towers that you didn't get to see in the first movie is you get to see the Nazgul riding the Fell Beast for the first time. We saw the Nazgul in the first movie. The ring wraiths, they're neither dead nor alive. They're constantly hunting for the ring to get the ring back to their master Saruman. And in the first movie, they're just riding horses, which is cool enough. But in the Two Towers, you could see them flying on the Fell Beasts for the very first time, and so that's really cool. It just makes them even more menacing, right? Menacing and evil. And then also, I thought one part that I probably just is cool to me, or I'm one of the probably few that it's cool to, is I thought I was when Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas are chasing down the orcs that have taken Merry and Pippin, and they're trying to track Gimli and Aragorn and Legolas are trying to track the orcs and try to keep up to them, catch up to them. And Aragorn like puts his ear to the ground, and he can tell that the orcs' pace has quickened. And then he says, the orcs, their pace has quickened. They must have picked up our scent. And so I thought that was kind of cool. Like, whoa, he's putting his ear to the ground. He could tell, that the orcs are moving faster. So obviously that's a Lord of the Rings thing, but I thought that was kind of cool. Like, all right, it's, there's a lot to Aragorn, then meets the eye, and it's revealed in the movie that he's not just a man. He's something much more than that. So speaking of other cool moments, they have the moment where the people of Rohan, they're evacuating their main city to flee to Helm's Deep so they can defend themselves better against Sauron's army. And pretty soon there is a warg attack. The warg riders sent after this group of people from Rohan by Saruman. He sends these wargs with these warg riders on them to attack and kill the people of Rohan. And so there's this big warg battle between the fighters, of Rohan defending the women and children, the families of Rohan. And Legolas is up on a hill, and he's like shooting arrows and taking out, warg riders and wargs as part of this battle. And then eventually the rest of the Rohan fighters catch up to Legolas, and there's this really cool CGI sequence where Legolas like grabs the reins of the horse and like just flips himself onto the horse. It's so cool. I just thought, I was like, it just added, an intensity and a weight to the scene, and it was I keep using the word epic. I know you overuse the word epic, but it just fits so well with this trilogy and with the moments in it. So it's just fantastic. And so, yeah, Legolas, played by Orlando Bloom, has some pretty cool moments. I mean, like early, later on in the movie, he's literally, he's basically snowboarding, or shield boarding down some stairs, and taking out guys with his bow that way. So Legolas is not hurting for cool moments in the Two Towers. And you get some new characters in the Two Towers. As you know, we meet Theoden. He's the king of Rohan. When we first meet him, he's under the spell of Saruman, and he's basically just a puppet to Saruman because Saruman's controlling him. And Theoden is played by Bernard Hill, who, if you watch the movie, you might recognize him. He's the captain of the Titanic in James Cameron's Titanic movie. And so after he was the captain of the Titanic, a few years later, he played Theoden, king of Rohan. Then you have Éowyn, and she is the niece of Theoden, and she is put forth as like a potential love interest to Aragorn in the movie. She's played by Miranda Otto, who a few years after this movie played Tom Cruise's ex-wife in War of the Worlds. So that's another prominent place that you would have seen Miranda Otto, but she plays Éowyn. Éomer, I've already mentioned him. Éomer is played by Carl Urban. Like I said, he's known mostly nowadays as Butcher from The Boys, and he just plays the leader of the Riders of Rohan, or the Rohirrim. And yeah, he's pretty cool. He gets some extra time in this movie as well, just because with the extended versions, they spend a little bit more time with the Riders of Rohan in this. You have the slimy, sleazy character of Grima Wormtongue. He's like a lackey for Saruman, but he's at the side of Theoden in Rohan. Basically, he's just facilitating Saruman's spell over Theoden so that Saruman controls Rohan. And now in the books, it's just Grima Wormtongue that's controlling Theoden, not Saruman. But in the movies, it's Saruman that's controlling Theoden. But Grima Wormtongue, he's played by Brad Dourif, who's made a complete career of playing slimy, sleazy, characters. Whether it's like a creepy racist, in Mississippi Burning, or he's in this movie here. He was also in Alien Resurrection as a kind of a creepy scientist. I mean, yeah, you just check out Brad Dourif's filmography on IMDb, and yeah, you'll see like where he plays like a lot of sleazy characters. You have Treebeard, a CGI character. He's like the leader of the Ents, and they're like the managers of the forest, of Fangorn Forest, or the forest, I guess, in general. Treebeard is, and he ends up being a protector to Merry and Pippin, and he turns out to be a very heroic character, and he is actually voiced by John Rhys-Davies, who, of course, plays Gimli, and John Rhys-Davies is probably most famously known for playing Salah on Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So, Mr. Asp, very dangerous. You go first, It's like Salah is like one of his classic lines from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, yeah. That's Treebeard there. So, again, playing the leader of the Ents. And then another new character we meet is Faramir, and he is the brother of Boromir, Sean Bean's character from the first one. Faramir is a younger brother of Boromir, and he is just he's another heroic character that ends up meeting up or encountering Frodo and Sam and takes them captive, David Wenham is who plays Faramir, who later on was in 300. He played the character in 300 that lost an eye, and he's had to, obviously put a kind of patch on his eye. It's probably the easiest way to tell who he is in 300. He's a fascinating character because he's got quite the arc in it, and he gets he gets more screen time in the Return of the King as well. So obviously next week's episode. But so Faramir is an interesting new character. Now, I could not talk about the Two Towers without talking about the Battle of Helm's Deep. That is like the jewel of this movie, and it is the premier thing that makes this part of the trilogy my favorite. So the Battle of Helm's Deep, I mean, this sequence was so cool and so expansive. It took 120 days for Peter Jackson and company to film this battle. Now, it was called the Battle of the Hornburg in the book, but in the movie they call it the Battle of Helm's Deep. And I got to say, the 24 narrative beats of this battle is really the battle that all other movie battles are compared to against nowadays. I mean, if you see a big epic battle in a movie, like in a movie like this, it's compared to Helm's Deep. I mean, I guarantee it. It's that. That's how monumental the Battle of Helm's Deep and the Two Towers was here. It's carried on. It's stood the test of time. I mean, it's like the perfect blend of dark and light moments. I mean, if you just drew a graph of just how the battle starts and just how it slowly goes downhill, further and further towards defeat for the good guys, and then suddenly triumph and victory is at hand. Towards the end. It's a battle of reckless hate versus moral conviction. I mean, it's just that's how I have to put it. That's I can't say any more than that about like just the core of the battle. And I have to say, I love the blue moonlit palette that the late great director of photography Andrew Lesnie used in this. It's just it adds to the intensity, the excitement to it. Is just this rain-soaked blue moonlit color scheme to the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's just incredible. I mean, and the sequence really is like 39, 40 minutes long out of this 3.5, 4 hour long movie. But they do build up to the Battle of Helm's Deep, but then the actual battle is like 39, 40 minutes. And they do such a good job at invoking emotion and making you care about the stakes. You've got women and children who certainly will be butchered, murdered by the orcs. I mean, they are not taking anybody prisoner, and you see the women and children and the elderly, they're hiding in the caves within Helm's Deep. And, it gets to a point where, they've blown up, the wall, part of the wall of Helm's Deep, and the orcs and the Uruk-hai have invaded. They breach the doors. They're getting in, and and they seem to have the upper hand. And then, on the first light of the fifth day, you see Gandalf shows up with Eomer, and the rest of the Rohirrim, as Aragorn looks to the east, as Gandalf instructed him earlier in the movie, and you just have this triumphant moment where you have the Rohirrim, and they ride down the hill, and the sun is behind them, and it blinds Sauron's army, and they just get overtaken, and it's just ultimate victory. And it's just so badass. I love this sequence. It's just incredible. So, also, I can't forget to mention, this is the first time the world got to see the genius of Andy Serkis's motion capture genius as he played Gollum. We briefly saw a little bit of Gollum in the first movie, but not really that much. And in this movie, this is when the world was just amazed at just the motion capture job that they did on Gollum, and he just the detail and the intricacy of the CGI and the emotional, just the way they got the emotion in his face and in that voice that Andy Serkis does, just
My precious.
just knocks it out of the park. And then also, there's so many fighters and horse riders in this movie that actually the filmmakers ran out of men to ride horses. And so they actually had to start putting beards on women in this. So a lot of the writers, especially like the writers of Rohan, they're women that are riding in the horses, and they've just got beards on them because they ran out of men. So that was kind of cool. Howard Shore, again, the composer of this movie, flawlessly commands our emotions, again, with his musical gifts that just coalesce with the visual spectacle that we see. And Gollum's song is one of the compositions that really hit an emotional core. And Gollum's song is the song they play over the end credits there, because in a lot of ways this movie is Gollum's movie. But Gollum's song is like just one of the best tracks in this movie for sure. It really hits gives you those emotional feels, and just makes this movie just that fantastic. So, yeah, but definitely. I mean, I would invite you to watch this movie again. I mean, it stands the test of time. The cinematography is just fantastic. The visual effects are fantastic. This is like Peter Jackson's masterpiece here. So, but yeah. All right. Well, with that, thanks for listening to this episode as always. And you know what? As I always say, get out there. Those movies aren't going to watch themselves. We'll see you.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the popo. They're coming after me. And I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video right here, down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting. It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here too. You'll be doing me a big favor. I'm gonna be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right. Thanks for watching.